What's good, y'all? I had to jump on today, and I've been liking what I've been seeing from boxing lately. We got a lot of good news. We just came off of a weekend of really good fights. We had Zerto Ramirez versus Dimitri Bivol, and Bivol, he's just too slick. He does it again. He beats Zerto Ramirez just as easily as he beat Canelo Alvarez. And I really liked this fight because Zerto Ramirez, him and DAZN, they were making all these excuses trying to discredit Dimitri Bivol's win over Canelo Alvarez, saying that he won only because of size. And Zerto Ramirez, he started to run with that narrative in his interviews and all that, saying that Bivol only won because of size. And I really didn't like that shit. And Zerto, he probably just was sticking up for Canelo, because of the Mexican pride, and I respect that. But at the same time, you supposed to be competition too. You supposed to want to fight and beat Canelo too. You know what I mean? So I just don't really get all the protection and the excuses for that loss. And now that he went in there and lost to the same person, hopefully that narrative is destroyed, because I don't really like that. And Dimitri Bivol, he was the B side in that situation. He beat the hell out of Canelo, and he didn't even get his money for a long time. I heard, you know, they say that they ain't even want to pay the man because that was at the height of that Russia and Ukraine when it first popped off, and they were kind of punishing Russia. They were talking about stripping Russian fighters and no events in Russia when it comes to boxing. Um, and yeah, he kind of caught the bad end, a stick of that. You know what I mean? Because he was supposed to get like, a super high payday, and he went in there and he beat the hell out of DAZN's Golden Boy, and they didn't even want to give him the check. That was just so wild to me. You know what I mean? And nowadays, after he just beat Zerto Ramirez, he's prioritizing the the better beef undisputed fight, and I appreciate that because I'd much rather have that fight. That fight is a long time coming. We've been wanted that fight before Better Beef even became a three belt champion. We knew that these two were the top guys. They are pretty much like in the Spence and Crawford situation. There ain't really nobody else to really fight. I think Better Beef have a mandatory with Anthony Yard, and that's about it. Once that fight over, where it's Bivol and Better Beef, and we got to see what's what with that because Bob Arum, he said that Bivol might have to come to top rank for that fight. You know what I mean? Because he don't want to send Better Beef to the zone. He said the zone is dead. Nobody watches it, and he don't want to, I guess, lose money sending Better Beef to the zone. So hopefully they work that shit out. You know, and Spence and Crawford, they back at it. They fought on Twitter, not in the ring. They didn't finalize nothing to get in the ring, but they fought on Twitter. And Terrence Crawford, he made a video and Spence had responded to it. Like a lot of the reports that we were getting throughout this whole fiasco were true because that's what Bud Crawford was saying in his videos, and they kind of surprised me. So yeah, they really got offered zero guaranteed, and Crawford took all that. He said that the transparency, he wanted to see what was affecting his pay and, have, say so and whatever things that he wanted. And he said, yeah, that held up the fight. And, I really don't know who to blame on that, because fights that huge, Bud never dealt with PBC. He's not used to that low guarantee or no guarantee. So he gonna want to see transparency or whatever the fuck it's called. But whatever, the fight didn't get made. He fighting Avanesian. He say that he had investors $25 million a piece for the fight, and Al Heyman had turned it down. He said that he don't want nobody to touch the fight, and that pretty much means that he didn't want to get cut out of the deal. Of course, Al Heyman, he would still make some money off of that fight, but not as much as he usually would. And that kind of surprised me because PBC, they was complaining about money so much about the fight. If Bud went and got investors for 25 million a piece, like, wouldn't you want to go see about that, since y'all complaining that y'all don't want to pay? If somebody else want to pay, what's the problem? You know what I mean? It just feel like a bunch of BS coming from both sides. And my attention is kind of more on the young guns now. See if they can get Spence and Crawford mandated, because, you know, Crawford's fighting Avanesian. Spence about to come out with an announcement. It may be Thurman, it may be not. It's either Thurman or Stanionis. And Jerron Ennis is also like a realistic option if Spence really wanted that fight, but I highly doubt it. Because if he was to fight Jerron Ennis, why wouldn't he just fight Crawford? You know what I mean? That's the same amount of risk, if not more, for less money. So don't expect that fight unless Boots get it through IBF mandatory, which I heard he already tried, and we see that's not going nowhere. But yeah, Spence, he was on Twitter. He responded to Terrence Crawford video, his 20-minute video explaining how everything went down or whatever. And Spence, he was just calling cap or whatever, writing paragraphs, trying to explain himself and Al Heyman and all that. I'm just to the point where I'm not even trying to hear the drama from either side. It's time to fight or move on. There's welterweights that's fought their way up the ranks that deserve title shots. And yes, right now, Spence and Crawford is holding up the welterweight division. They have all 4 belts, and they're not fighting each other, or they're not fighting the next best guy coming up. So I consider that holding up the division. But on the other hand, a fight that we wanted to see for years, Plant Benavidez, all the talk is done. They've signed. They finna fight. Their next fight will be against each other. Plant Benavidez, maybe a pay-per-view situation. I would this might be one of the ones that I buy, because I have asked for this fight for a long time. And I thought that we wasn't finna get it this time, because at around the Plant Darrell fight, Benavidez, he had signed to fight Jose Uzcategui, who Plant beat already. So I'm looking around like, what the fuck? I'm thinking that you chasing Caleb Plant. What's going on? Why you fighting somebody Plant already beat? And then the backlash and everything was so crazy about the fight. The fight got canceled, and a day or two later, here we go. Plant Benavidez, all the talk is done. The build up for this fight is going to be fantastic. I think these two really don't like each other. It's going to be some pushing and shoving and maybe a little mushing at all the little, press conferences. And that's what we need. You know what I mean? Everybody don't need to wait on Canelo. And Plant, he had got the Canelo fight. He lost. And now he's just want all the smoke. And that's how it is for a lot of fighters. They protect that O till they can't no more. And then now they just, balls to the wall. They fighting everybody. They showing up at everybody fight. They calling everybody out. You know, everybody can't be Floyd Mayweather. People need to stop protecting that O. I'm sick of seeing that shit in boxing. Just because you have a O don't mean you the greatest of this generation or some all-time great. You know, these dudes, they fucking up the image of the O. Cause a lot of these dudes ain't got a lot of substance behind it. They haven't fought nobody. They been avoiding fighters and shit. So that ain't looking too impressive. You know what I mean? But two fighters that ain't protecting that that I'm respecting a lot for even signing on the dotted line to fight each other is Frank Martin and Michelle Rivera, man. These two are two of the hottest up and coming lightweights. I think they both under 20 fights. I know that. But they both contenders, you know what I mean? And they're young fighters, not huge fan bases. They're on the come up. You know what I mean? They're trying to use each other name for their resume so they can get their title shots and they can get their popularity up. These two guys are taking a real risk, and like it's just props. It's just props, unlimited, because motherfuckers, they don't take fights like this. They don't take fights like this. You know what I mean? They fighting tomato till they climb up them ranks and fight the weakest champion and get their name in the history books that way. But these two guys, Frank Martin and Michelle Rivera, they just taking all the smoke, man. They fighting whoever to claim that they're the best. These two guys believe that they're the best lightweight in the world. So they're gonna fight each other before even getting a title shot. You know what I mean? Like, niggas don't take fights like this before getting a title shot. You know? Because even if one of these guys lose, they won't be that far. They won't fall down that far. A fight or two after this fight, they'll be right back where they was. They just testing themselves. And I doubt that this gonna be a pay-per-view fight because their prospects low fanfare. You know what I mean? So this might be on Showtime. And it's right before Christmas too, December 17th. That's a good Christmas present for me. Because last year on Christmas they had a card with Vito Melnicki. He's like a 20-year-old prospect. I couldn't watch that shit on Christmas, but yeah, I just wanted to cover these topics right quick. Oh yeah, and David Morrell, I watched his fight last night. He fought an undefeated fighter who was mandatory for his belt, and he looked it good, man. Because the fights before, the last time I seen David Morrell, he was getting caught a lot coming in, rushing his opponents and stuff, and he cleaned that up this fight. He thoroughly outboxed his opponent, hurt him a few times throughout the fight, and then went to dropping him in the 12th. He showed flashy skills, nice jab, nice range, footwork. David Morrell, he's got unlimited potential, and he's right up there with the 168 pounders. I would say, yeah, he's an elite fighter for 168. He's top 5. Very bright future. I think he's like the youngest, if not, he probably just like a year or two older than Benavidez, if anything. So he's going to be around for a long time. He's got under 10 fights, and he already has the WBA regular belt. So bright future ahead. But I just wanted to cover these topics, holla at y'all for the day. We'll see what's what. I like what I seeing. I'm like what I seeing in boxing this week. Besides Spence and Crawford fighting on Twitter instead of in the ring.